Hi, everyone. I am very excited to introduce you to our psychotherapist, as well as author and painter, Tom Newnam. And Tom, I know that you have been with us now for going on a year, maybe, for working with us for private counseling. But you and I have connected a while back. And I'd love to just start with the story of what brought you into Firefly Hollow and your call in your heart to connect with us. I think that's a really cool story for us to chat with and start with who you are.
Well, uh, yeah, I have been counseling in one style or one way or another, probably for 50 years. Um, my background is in social work, and I was a therapist, a psychotherapist at the mental health center for a while. I was a probation officer, a juvenile probation officer, and I was in a family therapy counseling unit there. And so I've always loved counseling, and um, I think it's kind of what one of my main gifts, and um, but also as you know, I've done a lot of painting. I had this whole art career, which I still have, and that's been like a 45-year you know career of painting watercolors. So anyway, how I got hooked up with you couple of years ago, I just started missing counseling. I was totally into painting, and painting, of course, is kind of a private. I'm not interacting with other people. It's me with me time, and I think I just started missing some of the need to be with other people. So I started thinking about where could I maybe apply to see if I could be a counselor, a psychotherapist, and I heard probably for the last 8 or 10 years, I heard nothing but good things about Firefly Hollow. And I mean, I didn't catalog that. I didn't think much about that, but it was consistent. And then I just got to the point where I just thought, well, then that's probably where I ought to go and see if I can be a counselor. And once I got that internal message or that feeling, I just one day, I barely remember the day that I just drove just drove to Firefly Hollow. I didn't know. I knew where it was, but I didn't know if you were open, or I had never met you. I just, like I've done my whole life, I just followed that soulful impulse, that soulful pride or connect or message. And I walked in. I don't even know if I knocked or if I just walked in. And you were there, which is a huge coincidence in and of itself, because you don't just your day is not normally just hanging around waiting for somebody to come in. So we met, and there was that instant connection, that instant feeling that, yeah, this is where I would like to be. And then we talked about it, and I shared some of my background and my books, and then it took off, and I'm so grateful and so happy to be a part of that, of Firefly. I truly am. Whatever I thought about it, whatever impulse, soulful impulse led me to come there in the first place, it was right and it was true. And the atmosphere there, the overall spirituality, the overall good-heartedness and truth. It's just the energy that I wouldn't want to be around. Less positive energy. I mean, it's just perfect for me. And I really appreciate it, and I'm really grateful to you for giving me the opportunity.
There's a lot of people when they first meet us or they end up working at Firefly Hollow, they actually like share the same thing. And that's kind of been one of those big green flags whenever someone does apply to work with us, and like they truly feel, and you can tell, I can tell people are, exaggerating or not, but if they feel it, they say, I feel like I'm supposed to work here. And sometimes people who are not fully in really leaning into their intuition, and balancing logic and intuition is very healthy, I believe, not just full on, not discerning, but you learn discernment over the years when you follow your intuition and follow the spiritual breadcrumbs or follow your hunches. And we attract a lot of practitioners that are really adept at that. And I think it's really awesome because when they come in and they are leaning in and they say, I feel like I'm supposed to be here. And they may sound crazy to you. And I look at them, I go, actually, no. Every person that ever come to work with us that has that feeling ends up being a long-term, practitioner with us. And we are very self-aware as practitioners. We're very aware of energy subtleties to the way that the environment feels, the way that our hearts and our exchanges with our community feels. That's really important, that presence that we carry. And I think that is one of the things. It seems like, if you think about all the little fireflies being like, they light up, like all of our practitioners and all of our little community members are like little fireflies. They light up with their presence and their light, and they shine, and then they say hello, and someone else comes along, and then they just some reason we're like on the radar for people who are very sensitive to that type of being spiritually led. And so that's one of the things when I first met you that I felt, and being able to connect and see that in your presence. You walked in and your aura was so big, and it was so bright and so loving and so present and kind. And without a doubt, I knew that you were very spiritually connected, very gifted in whatever the source has given you as your particular gifts. And then you gave me this book that's actually behind you, the cover of your book, Try Softer. And I was like, this is what our world needs. This is like, and it was just so funny to me that the universe, you just walked in exactly when I needed that book. And then I was like, this person is very much very led. And I just got to know you more and learned about you being not just a painter, but a very gifted and talented painter. And you just trust, your work gets out there without, you even happen to go up there and show it all off to everybody. It just, we do it for you. We spread it for you because it's in your fans and people do that. So I kind of was curious when we first talked about counseling, what is your style of counseling and what do people experience? So let's just start with that because everybody's different and every counselor is different. And at this time we have a mental health crisis in our country where there's need connection to ourselves, and there's also a epidemic of loneliness. So the services that we provide, but also you as a psychotherapist provide, I think are just the food, the nourishment that our souls need. And I think some people have never been to a counselor before, have come seen you, and they've been really, really just, we get reviews and testimonials and just the joy that you help bring out of them. So I'm curious because everybody might have been to a counselor before and everyone is different. So with your style of counseling, how would you describe that, how you work with your clients?
Well, it's a great question. It's a key question. And I heard a quote from, I think it was, I don't know who it was by, that says, success as a therapist is not found in doing something for your client. It's found in being someone for your client. It's in your being. What I bring to counseling is the same thing I bring when I go to the grocery store. I bring myself. It's just me, the same me that came in to see you that day. I take counseling as a general term, me trying to help somebody feel better about themselves. I take that not as a job, not as a hobby, not even not, it's a sacred blessing to me that someone comes to me uh, to ask for help, and and I'm just like deeply honored by that. And there's another quote I have. I have two cue cards here, Kara, that you can't see. I got to read this one. It says, "Oh, this is from Rumi. This is all about answering like what my style is counseling." Rumi said, be grateful for whomever comes, because each has been sent as a guide from beyond." Well, that's not. He didn't say who comes to your counseling session. He just said, "Be grateful for whomever comes, because each has been sent as a guide from beyond." I believe that. Nobody. We're all in the right place at the right time, and so I don't know. I don't like labels. I don't know. I don't like to even call a person a client. You have to. We need them, and they're for purposes of role distinguishing. We can say one person who comes to see me as a client, but I'm just as much a client to them. We are teacher and student to each other. My way of being with the client is to keep the focus on myself, so that I don't have any judgment. I don't have any uh, blocks or problems with what they're saying. That So I have to constantly monitor myself, because what's if I ask myself what's therapeutic? What do you mean you're a therapist? What's therapy? What's is There's nothing to my mind and heart. There's nothing more therapeutic than seeing someone and hearing them, listening to them, and accepting them. Period. Totally. Because they're exactly where they need to be, within themselves and within their struggles and within their life and within the room with me. So my work, while I might while I'm helping them, it's work that it's only by working on myself that I can help them. I want to have the right energy. I want to be congruent and have be open, spontaneous within myself, so that I can hear my soul's promptings, the same soul, the same prompting that sent me to you in the first place, so that I can hear how I should be with the client. So I don't have a script. I don't have cue cards when I'm with them. I don't. I go in open, totally open, and and just I want loving energy of acceptance, because I think that's the most therapeutic. Love's the most therapeutic thing in the universe. Now, I can use a cute strategy if I want, or I was trained in all the traditional cognitive stuff, but to answer your question, I have to get right with myself, and it flows, and it more. I think every time I was ever with a client, we ended up with some kind of belly laugh. I mean, what's more therapeutic than laughing? So I just try to be a healthy human being, because as honest and real as I can be, and I don't know how to offer anything better. You know, Try not to be too clever, which is a fault. You know what I'm saying? I just want I'm honored that somebody would sit down with me, and I don't think I have to fix them. It's not my job to change them or fix them or correct them or even heal them. They have to do that. We all have to do that. So I keep my focus on doing all those things for me. And invariably, I've never come out of a session, or even a session, even when I'm talking to a friend, or even when I'm just all in my normal life relating to somebody. I never walk away without having gained something. So who's the client? Who's the teacher? Who's the student? Anyway.
This is the art form of living. This is the art of living. And if you are someone that likes labels and you are considering yourself a healer of some sort, really, that label, I think, starts when someone has a draw or desire to help because they see the suffering or the pain of themselves and others in the world, and they desire to be a nurse or a psychotherapist or a doctor or a mother, even, or a caretaker or a massage therapist. And I think the art form of healing really is a developmental skill that the more you get in touch with yourself, being present with you and
Yeah.
utilizing all, like you said, all of the people that come into your life, they are, in my opinion, and I didn't know, I guess, that this is an art form. It just seems natural to me. That's why we really connect, you and I, because the way that we learn is through others, and we learn about ourselves, we learn about letting go, we learn about how can I practice more non-judgment, because there is a reality in my perception that everyone is a reflection of the entire world. And so that we see ourselves in them, we see parts of ourselves that we need to love more deeply. And we're all one. I mean, that oneness thing, when people really find it hard to understand sometimes, but that's a lot of times because there hasn't been maybe the time, or life hasn't given opportunities for that person to look within themselves. Because when you start to turn inward and become aware of you, who you are, then you start to hear. And then you can't then no longer listen to that little voice within you, and you start getting the little gut feelings, and then, oh, I knew that. And then, but when you start following them, you just hear and you listen and you start to see that everyone's a reflection of you, that everybody you meet, that everybody that's why I think the art of healing, the art of living, the art of healing is, as a healer, if you're titling yourself that, is recognizing that you're not doing the healing. You're facilitating your own healing by sitting with them, and they're facilitating yours. And it's like this gift instead of I have to fix you. So that's one part, I think, when people as a healers get to a milestone of recognizing that they're giving too much or trying to help versus just leading the horse to water and facilitating space of love. They try softer, which is what your book's about. They don't have to force the helping and come on, I want to help you because and then there's this dynamic that moves from a parasitic or like a reliant relationship, I'm relying on you to fix me,
Yeah.
into a partnership of holding space and love for each other where the healing is really there. So I love that you said what's therapy, and you said to be listened to be heard,
To be
to be
seen. Yeah.
loved, to be seen. And
Yeah.
that's where I
Accept.
think that concept, I don't know, that concept is taught in school for counseling,
Yeah.
but embodying it from a intellectual concept to an actual way of being is a different thing.
Yeah.
And I think you've
Yeah.
got that.
Well, thank you. That's beautifully said. And that can't. None of that can be faked.
No.
None of that can be. You can't apply that as uh, a ploy, or as something you think everything you and I are talking about is natural. It's what healthy human beings, or if healthy human beings relate that honest, spontaneous, open, non-judgmental way, everything expands. Everybody benefits. And yeah, I mean, I don't try. I don't. I still get a little. It's not even nervous. I get excited if I have a name of someone that wants to see me for counseling, and I don't want or need to know anything about them ahead of time. I like to just meet them, you know, spontaneously. We have a fresh uh, interaction, and it takes. And there's a fundamental quote that I think probably I could say is sort of like a basis for my life, and it was actually it was actually by Picasso. He said, uh, "The meaning of life is to discover your gifts and the purpose of life is to give them away. And that's pretty much what I've done all my life. Um, whatever gifts is kind of a loaded word, but everybody has gifts, and mine, I can identify some of them: painting and writing and counseling, and I just, so I'm constantly my own client. I mean, I'm is this is this a gift? And have I developed it as far as I want or need to? So I'm always working. In a sense, I could say working on myself, but it's more a matter of unblocking, and letting myself emerge. And that's the way I see clients. It's not. It's like if I can detect, I usually can, but it's not intellectual detection. It's my soul tells me where they have a fear or a block, and it's all very intuitive. And then I know that's an opening. That's something that I can maybe gently, and sometimes, like I say, it could be through humor. It could just be through them feeling that I actually do appreciate them. It's just like, so it's almost like the process for I see as more as unlearning your conditioning, which is ego, all the stuff that society slaps on you from the moment you're born. Like uh, learning, discovering your worth that's underneath all that, all those all those hurtful and harmful beliefs that you're not worthy, that kind of thing. So it's almost like soulful. And I'm just thinking of this now as I'm talking. I mean, I've mentioned the soul in two books, but I'm just thinking, um, it, it's almost like soulful detective work, like my soul seeks to get in touch with their soul. And once that connection, and I can't make it happen, but I have to be open to it happening. And sometimes it happens the second I see them, shake their hand. It's not magic, but it's a form, it's love is actually what that boils down to. Yeah. Yeah.
So for your journey being a counselor, I'm curious how it evolved over the time, of, you learned the techniques and you have these different types of therapies that you do for different types of the more the intellectual approach, which those I think for as far as an art form, when you learn anything, you get all the tools and techniques and then they come out naturally, instead of this like more intellectual approach where you're not sitting there having to titrate medications or anything where you're like, okay, we got to have this much and this much. It's the language of the soul and the psyche is so much more fluid, and it's not this black and white, A, B, C, D, a linear path to healing.
Right.
So I'm
Right.
curious how that process was for
Mm.
you early on in your years being a counselor and how it evolved.
Well, when I had a wonderful childhood. Thank God, I'm blessed to say that. It was a combination of uh, Mayberry and Happy Days growing up in the 50s. And I lived in an apartment. It was an apartment. My parents, we didn't have much money, but we lived in an apartment. But it was an apartment. It was one of 7 apartments in a big, giant mansion in a small town. The mansion looked like the White House. I mean, it had big column, 4-foot diameter columns out front. The architecture might have been called what's that, antebellum or something. It's like looked like a southern mansion. Like if you drove by and saw that house, you thought, well, that must be where the mayor lives or the governor or somebody. And maybe in the past that was the case. So anyway, I lived in this 7-unit apartment house, and there were 7 different families there, 7 different types of people. They all had good hearts, thankfully. And I was there since I was like 2 years old. And I grew up with these people, with this, uh, you know, like a microcosm of everybody on earth. And so there was like a man that that sold eggs, and he had a head. He looked like an egg. He sold eggs. There was a country western band in one apartment. In another apartment, there were 2 prostitutes. Another apartment, there was an accountant, and uh, another was a bartender. So all these walks of life, I lived, and we were all so close in this town. Like they would babysit me, and I'd be in and out of the people. So I love people. I learned. I was delighted by all of them, and I saw at age 3, 4, 5 that they're each perfect in their own right. That like Pete made a perfect bartender. The Eggman, I mean, of course he sold eggs. So it was I just like no judgment, like appreciate. Oh, and then there was a caretaker who was as kids we thought he was like the meanest guy in the world. He used to chase us on a tractor, and uh, but I even saw him. But then every Christmas he would call us to his apartment to give us the biggest Hershey bar he could get. So anyway, I learned organically. My parents were happy; they loved each other. Uh, there was love I got from these people in the apartment house. I had a blessed life, and all around town, the little town. I knew everybody in town. We used to walk around and have so my right off the bat, I thought, man, people are wonderful. They're all so different. So anyway, that's the background, and not to mention, when I won a pony and all that stuff. Like, so I was a happy kid. So naturally, I thought, well, then I guess I ought to major in psychology. So it just was natural. Now, so that's what I did, and then I always had different counseling jobs, and my first one was with really it was at a child development center in Abbottstown. I was fresh out of college. They had 90 residential children under 18, but from infancy to age 18. So 90 children lived there all the time, and they had every handicap you can think of, every handicap from cerebral palsy to thalidomide babies to blind, autistic, you name it. And under that roof, they all were there, and babies, all levels of, what they used to call retardation. And I worked there for a year and a half, and so then I'm seeing people, different kind of people, not country western singers, not people selling eggs. I'm seeing uh, kids that you just your heart just opened up like all the time, and a lot of them the parents never came to visit, and so I saw that hard side of life, and that I think that further propelled me to what you said we're talking about, to want to help people. There's no doubt I want to help people. I'm that's all I'm trying to do, that in every way I can. uh, but it's not me wanting to help people because I have an ego that thinks I know more than anybody else, or I'm better than anybody. It's me wanting to help people genuinely from my heart. Uh, and I'm the first person I want to help. Helping me. And so, yeah, so I got into counseling. Now then, so just switching gears real quick, but it's the same kind of thing happening here. When I went into art, painting with watercolor, I learned I had to paint the same way I relate to people. I had to paint honestly. I had to paint. I couldn't pretend to paint. I had to paint naturally. I had to be open, really open. So so you come back to that. It's about flow and energy. I can't to paint a good watercolor. I can't block the flow. I have to try not. So to me, even though art and counseling, somebody could say, well, they're two different avocations or two different. No, it's the same. It's like, what am I going to do with my energy? What am I going to create? Am I going to create a good bond with this person? Am I going to create, pretty flowers on this painting? So to me, it's just to me, it's about constantly, continuously, in every interaction, and getting to know myself better and keep my ego balanced and open my heart more. So, so I don't know what's not therapeutic. I mean, everything seems to be like a great opportunity. Even difficulties or problems or hard circumstances. I honestly think that life happens. It's cliche. You've heard it. Life happens for us, not to us. And so I'm just a work in progress. I'm pretty old, but I don't know. The older I get, in some ways, the better I feel. Better meaning internally, you know, spiritually, but also, unfortunately, I'm still healthy, but physically. But anyway, that's probably more than whatever question you asked.
That
But
is
yeah,
that is perfect because, the journey is ever growing and evolving. You're like that's someone that is continually allowing life to flow through them because when you don't continue to learn and evolve and grow, it's stagnancy and
I
just
never grew up. Never grew up. Picasso also said it takes a long time to become young. You know, so yeah.
Well, I have a couple more questions for you. I'm curious, a lot of people have reservations about going and seeing a counselor. Because there is a mental health stigma that you have to have something quote unquote wrong to actually go see someone, first of all. And I don't think that's the case. I think, there's nothing wrong with us ever. That's something that we can talk about. But, for someone that's apprehensive because of mental health labels or stigmas, obviously you don't diagnose people, so, and I think the diagnoses and the labels cause more issues. I think it can be helpful if you need some sort of prescription medication. They need to do that for insurance purposes only. But I think that the process of seeing you or seeing a counselor of any type, people have reservations about that. What would you say to someone who is in that space?
And I do say, in one way or another, with every client, as soon as I meet them, I convey, I say it differently different times, how much I respect them for having the courage to plow through the stigma, especially men. Sometimes, what do you mean I should go for help? I don't need help. I can fix this myself. So I think the hardest thing in the world for a lot of people to say is, can you help me? Will you please help me? How, what a, what a wonderful thing to say. You know, what an honest. So when I meet a new client, I let them know sincerely and genuinely how much I respect them. I'm not sure I could have done that. Just knock on somebody's door and say, I mean, I've done it, but no, yeah, because we're taught. I mean, it's our culture, our society. Nobody wants, to think there's anything wrong with them, that they're not perfect according to advertising and cultural norms. No, so I would just say, um, if you feel that you need help, or you'd like to just talk to somebody, or uh, see what that's if you feel that way at all, and that's an impulse that you have, or a message from your own soul, if you just think maybe I should see somebody, I would say, yeah, test, walk into that, test that, and if you see somebody who is judgmental or has their own ego problems, if it's not the right person, then nothing lost. You check them out. But most therapists are, like we just talked about, are in it for the right reason. Most helpers come from their heart, and so if you can have the courage to go in and just be open and trust that they're not going to reinforce that you're broken, that you're just something wrong. I mean, you're not the way you should be. you know uh yeah, yes, it's just like it's a meeting like any other meeting. You go to the grocery store because you like the people there. You like that grocer, so you just find somebody. Start by asking a friend, somebody you trust, just have a conversation about, because we all can use all the help we can get, period. We're all one ultimately. We're all interconnected. you know it, it's There's everything right with asking for help. I learned real quick, when I first started counseling. I was at the York County Mental Health Center for 3 years, but I saw 9 people a day, every day, from all walks of life. I mean, kids, ministers, housewives, everybody. 9 people a day, and after a while, I saw this common theme, sort of, no matter who they were, what the problem was, and the theme was they wanted to change. That's why they were there. Although some were court ordered to be there. But yeah, so somebody presumably comes to see you, they want to change. They're looking to change something with your help. But the other part of the common theme was they wanted to change, but they were afraid, and they resisted it. There's always resistance. Yes, I want to step into making a change, but no, I mean, not that way, not yet. I'm scared. So I got to see that's just human nature, and somehow, so then seeing that it's natural to be afraid of that, of change. Like, what else are there? What else do you have to fear if you go for help? That, um, like, it's sort of like some people are afraid of failure, some people are afraid of success, some people are afraid to get better. So I don't know. It's just like I would say to somebody who thinks they ought to get counseling, but they're afraid, that's a great place to take a chance and walk into, and 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 be aware of your own resistance, and what your mind is telling you about how you're going to block getting help. And so that means recognize, even before you see a counselor, that it's your responsibility. You're the one who decides if you're going to get help or not, whether you have the world's greatest therapist or the world's worst. You got to decide to make a commitment to change. And then once you make that commitment to change, almost everything you do is going to help you. It's because it's not up to them. That answers the question.
I love that self-accountability, self-responsibility to say, this is my life. And I say that that's always the most. I think I actually have something actually pinned on my Instagram account. I think is like the most powerful thing, that what creates change, what creates real change is not doing it for anyone else, but actually doing it for yourself. And that that's the most powerful thing. I think the biggest block that I see in people is that they don't love themselves and that they're afraid, like you said, of change. And until they decide and make that decision to change, it they're gonna stay in that same place. And I love that you mentioned that it's really scary for change. Change is the fundamental thing that's afraid we're fearful in all of our human capacities in all that way. And I think years ago, I wish I would have known how to reach out for help. But, I had a lot of help. I had counselors over the years and coaches, and when I finally leaned in, especially to the things that scared me, the types of helpers that I felt my own inner monologue was like, "I'm not good enough even for them to help me," because I put these people on the pedestal instead of seeing them as human beings as well that have some sort of maybe tools that I could learn from and them as another gift to support my journey. The more that I lean in, and I know what the more anyone leans in, whether you're trying to be successful at your job or your marriage or being a parent or just your connection to yourself, I think all of those things they have in common, leaning in to knowing that you're worth it and that change can be scary, and the more you do reach out for help, I mean, there's so much help nowadays. There's counselors, there's podcasts, there's free resources on YouTube. People can just listen to people talking at them and get these ideas and these seeds that start to go into your brain and just start to sprout of awareness. This the initiation of self-awareness is what is the most powerful tool because then you start to change and shift, and that's when you seek out someone like yourself that can start to help us root through these internal mental weeds and these programs to get to our true selves.
It's well said. And look at you, look at Firefly. You guys all you're a cornucopia of help from all angles, from all directions, all types, all that's the thing. That's what I love about Firefly. Yeah. Somebody wants help, that's the place to go to come. And the other thing you were talking about, uh, natural resistance to change, to even approaching somebody for help, or then to changing. It's every decision probably comes from either fear or love. So the fear part is, well, I'm afraid there's something wrong with me. I'm afraid I won't be able to change, or I'm afraid I don't want to change, whatever. That's all natural. But there's a higher, healthier place you can get to where you can say, you don't have to say it directly, but in your heart you can feel toward your therapist, I'm going to do you a favor. I'm going to let you help me. That's my gift to you. You know, you give a person the gift of being of assistance to you. There's my whole basis for wanting to help people is because nothing makes me feel better. You know, you're not impinging on somebody. It, if they want to help, let them help. They'll be grateful. I mean, it's it's love or fear. And so, anyway, whenever I'm with a client, the most important thing to me is just that we're both relaxed. That there's no tug of war. There's no who's going to fix who. It's just letting, again, that energy, like when I paint, just like let that be. But don't just let it be. Like, realize it's a sacred opportunity. If you have a chance to help somebody, number one, it will make you feel wonderful. That's your whole life. Look who I'm talking to. Yeah. So clients or people who need help, do us a favor. Let us love you. Let us help you.
It's something that a lot of people who are also helpers themselves feel a sense of guilt when they ask for help. Like you said, oh my gosh, I'm burdening someone. And I always say the same thing. Like, what if, how good does it feel to you when you get to give to someone
Yeah.
else? You were taking that gift away. You're taking that
Yeah.
away from the helpers as well, that they don't have the opportunity then to fulfill their life purpose. So it drives our soul to give and to be with you and to love. So I think that's a beautiful thing to point out because people do feel like, oh, I'm just going to burden you with my problems. No,
Yeah.
No, not at
You
all,
know,
and we don't even see it that way. We don't it's not even we don't see it as a problem. That's I think the beauty of it when you hold space, not hands, you're not holding someone's hand. Maybe you are when they're afraid, but you're holding space for them where you're just being in a present state of presence of non-judgment that they maybe opens up a little bit of softness so that they can potentially see themselves from the same way that we see them, out of love.
and if that happens, and when that happens, that's the heart of therapeutic. That's therapy. That's therapeutic. If a person can relax and feel that, oh, maybe I am in the right place. Maybe we can help each other. That's what's more beautiful than that. We all always can benefit from it, and the roles can switch. I mean, there'll be a time when I knock on somebody's door and I'm the client. It's just normal life.
Is there
But I
anything
love it.
else that you would like to share or chat about?
No, just that it's oh, was it Saint Francis that said that what you're searching for is where you're searching from. That what you're searching for is where. So like, I just try to keep in mind, like, what is it that I spend every day trying to attain? Am I looking for enlightenment? Am I looking for what's my goal? What am I trying to do? Am I trying to transcend being human? Am I trying to uh, develop my potentials? Am I trying to accomplish all my dreams before I die? I mean, just um, so I try, and like those are pretty heavy questions, but I try to remember that. Well, my book. I try to remember to not try so hard. My son said the other day, "Dad, you ought to write a sequel called Don't Try." Because I mean, I try too hard all the time. So yeah, no, I can't think of anything except that just like trust. Life takes care of life. Life takes care of life. We don't have to climb mountains all the time. We don't have to work that hard. There's nothing to be done except acceptance of the flow, of the love that we're already perfect. You know what I'm saying. So it's just sort of a general, uh, not even advice, but something that I have to constantly remind myself is to just let it flow, let it flow. You know, it meaning God, love, life. It's going to flow anywhere, and try not to block it. Try to especially nowadays, crazy stressful world. Yeah, be careful what you take in the way of mental food, news and stuff. Just try to relax a little bit and accept that this is all for the good. Everything is happening for the betterment of everybody, and that's just maybe that's a just my optimistic, philosophical viewpoint, but it's a viewpoint that I cherish and I've worked on integrating.
I think
Yeah,
that mindset creates a lot of flow and a lot of opportunities for surrender and being in this space of being soft, trying softer and not trying so hard. That's a
yeah.
gift. A lot of people don't know, challenging our mindset is a big part of change.
Oh, yeah.
And it's not until we change our mindset or our perceptions that we can create change in our life. And, there's sometimes resistance to optimism, openness, trusting, especially when we've had trauma around things that have not, we think, gone our way, or we don't feel, or we haven't had the resolution yet. Because it can be hard and be challenging to have an awareness or a perception that everything has happened for you when you've had so many challenges in your life. But it's
Uh-huh.
not until you get to the other side of those with help, with support, if you've never even had that support yet, that it does. I really do. You trust us. I know we've been through our journeys in life, and I know that I've been through a lot of challenges every single time after, I'm like, "Oh my gosh, this is the worst thing in the world. Why is this happening to me?" And then it's always right back around. Life happens through you, not to you, Kara. It's not about victimization. It's about empowerment. And you have to have the mindset to reframe and to integrate everything that has happened so it becomes a gift. You don't have to do that. You could have a mindset of cynicism and negativity and distrust, and there's nothing wrong with that either. Like, that's a different perspective and a different experience you're gonna have in life, and it's a choice. It's a beautiful option that we have in this lifetime to have free will, to choose the perception and the outlook in which we
Mhm.
drive or how we drive our vehicle, and I think that's the gift, that we can choose. It doesn't matter which one. You wanna have an experience that feels not as great? I mean, you
Yeah.
can choose that. It just doesn't feel as good to me. It's not my preference to feel cynicism or distrustful anymore. Even though I carry a little bit more of that, I'm still working on releasing because I've had a lot of trauma around not trusting people and situations and life. And the more I let that go, the more it feels more free and open. And I actually prefer this. This is a lot better. I don't know why I didn't do it sooner.
Well, letting it go means reclaiming your power, the power of choice. There's nothing more powerful than the power of choice. If you think you don't have a choice, then you go into victim consciousness. But you do have a choice, as you were just saying. And before we end it, I just want to thank you again because who you are, and just your acceptance of me, recognition of who I am, and the opportunities you've given me. I've grown. I'm so appreciative. Yeah, I'm grateful to you for how you're helping me to help others too. Yeah,
I'm
yeah, I
grateful
love
for
it. Yeah.
every one of the practitioners that I've worked with has it's been a personal everyone's been my own personal soul trainer. Like, how can I be more flexible, be more structured, communicate better, be more accepting, learn to be thinking on my feet, strategize. And more importantly, I think all the practitioners have taught me that the one true thing that is people I've worked with, all the practitioners and clients, I should say, that everything is energy, and that when energy is blocked, it starts to create more fear, and it starts to create this pooling, and the energy, in general, we get blocked in our thoughts, we get blocked in our bodies, we get blocked in stagnancy through just fear and then the things that we put into it. And I think that's the answer. It seems so simple, but it's the answer to everything. It's the answer to everything. If you're blocked in your work or in your relationships or your money or your creativity, it's unblocking the body and how you're holding on to mental thoughts or emotions in the body, and how the body's serving you as a vehicle to express your consciousness or it to be not expressed based on your choice. And I've learned that through working with my clients and my
Mm,
practitioners. And I think that's why I love practitioners like yourself that are so aware of energy. You're aware of when it feels right, when it's flowing, and when it's not, you take personal responsibility to accept the universe or the guides or the people that come into your life to help you reroute or unblock that area of your life or where you're holding fear still. That's the answer. And I know that I try to be the cheerleader and the coach for our entire team and help them to get those resources, to have that awareness so they can do their own excavating and understanding of how everything that happens in your life is an opportunity. And especially when we get blocked with either challenging clients, or maybe we feel like we're needing more income, or there's a lot of things. Healers struggle with a lot of that, kind of similar to the artist sometime, where the artist is struggling either financially or emotionally, or they're drained. They're all these same things. They're all the same story of, are you giving out your energy too much? Are you in fear too much? How do you change that? How do you use your power of choice? And that to me has been the best lesson for me, because I watch people and I watch where they get stuck and I go, ooh, and then I go, do I do that? Oh my gosh, thank you so much. Now I can learn some tools to work with that. And I'm always continuing to grow. And I just love as we have more energy aware practitioners that come into our clinic and work with us, the more awareness they carry within themselves, it's like it's like I don't know what it is, but it's like I learn faster. I don't know why that is. It's very interesting. It's because they're so aware and conscious in themselves, and that we can have conversations about things and then like kind of volley back and forth things we've learned or things we're challenged with, and then they're like, "Well, me too." And then we someone comes up with an answer. And then they're like, "Well, that makes sense to me." And then we have these little pieces of the puzzle that we start to put together for our own healing. So it just becomes this mass like our whole clinic, our whole center of all of us deepening into love. And I love that because then we're just shining brighter as a clinic, and hopefully my passion is to help other people, like yourself, continue to help other people, other healers learn how to do that because we need more of us to shine and to be balanced and so we can continue to give instead of burn out. And so yeah, and you're just a shining star, and I think when you came along I was just so grateful because to me, my world is a reflection of where I'm at in my consciousness. And if I'm on a flow path of moving into more love, not more fear, I attract more love and more loving people and people with brighter, healthy energy and auras. And then it creates this more vitality and life force that floods my relationships, my finances, my health. It really fuels everything. It's the energy. You've got to follow the energy. And so I always see it as a reflection of where I'm at, of the people I'm attracting, or the people that are coming into my life. And it's not about judging someone as having better energy or not it's not about that. It's about what quality or preference am I wanting right now? And then I take that and I don't know, I do something with it. I don't know. I do something with it and then it comes and then
You
something
do
else
everything
happens.
with it. No, you're so alive, so delightful, so yeah, like everything you just said, that's what you do with it. I mean, you're just shining and growing and guiding and teaching and appreciating. Yeah, yeah.
So
Thank
working
you.
with you, Tom, I'm just going to share, I'm going to put in the notes here for this particular recording, resources and access to links for people to reach out to counselors all over, for us, number to reach you for, do you do free phone consultations to see if someone's a good fit? And then also resources for other access to anyone wherever you're at locally, finding someone else, or if you want to work with someone online. And then you do in person with us, but also you've had clients in the past that prefer to do phone counseling with you.
Yeah, that's been another way, a common way. That's fine with me too. Yeah,
Yeah. So
yeah.
I
I'm
just wanted to
glad.
share that so that and then everyone can reach you with the phone number and the website. And I'm going to put your personal website as well for your books. We actually will
Thank
have
you.
to get together in the future here and do another talk on your book
Yeah,
because
thank you.
that's a whole nother thing. And you have multiple books actually. And so I'll share the website for your information for your books and your paintings too, because that's another beautiful expression and gift you have given to the world. And I want to share that too.
Thank you. I
Yeah,
appreciate you and appreciate that so much. Yeah, thank you.
absolutely. Well, thank you everyone for being with us today. And we wish you love and the true beingness of your heart shining out through you as you take something that may be valuable for you from this conversation. And thanks again, everyone. Thank you for being here with me, Tom.
Thank you, Kara.
Be well till next time, my friends.